Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you never miss a play and a devastating blow for the Washington Commanders. Veteran tight end Zach Ertz suffered a torn anterior cruciate ligament during Sunday's 31-0 loss against the Minnesota Vikings, a loss that left fans and analysts alike reeling. The injury occurred late in the third quarter during a 2nd and 11 play, as Ertz reached for a pass and was hit in the right leg by Vikings safety Jay Ward. The impact was severe enough that Ertz could not put any weight on his leg, requiring immediate assistance to leave the field before being carted to the locker room. On Monday morning, team medical staff confirmed that he had torn his ACL and he will undergo further imaging to assess the full extent of the damage. At 35 years old, Ertz has been one of the most productive and durable players for Washington this season, tallying 49 receptions for 493 yards and 4 touchdowns, while recently moving into 5th place on the NFL's all-time receptions list for tight ends with 825 career catches. Losing Ertz is a monumental setback for a team already struggling to find its footing, stripping the Commanders of one of their most reliable offensive weapons and veteran leaders. The timing of Ertz's injury could not have been worse for Washington, coming off a hard-fought overtime loss to the Denver Broncos the previous week. The team appeared to be gaining momentum and confidence, only to have it all crumble against the Vikings. Head coach Dan Quinn did not mince words after the game, describing the performance as a regression, stating that while the team had taken steps forward in the prior week, this week felt like 10 steps back. The blowout loss highlighted glaring issues on both sides of the ball, with the offense unable to establish any rhythm, and the defense allowing Minnesota to dictate the pace from start to finish. Star receiver Terry McLaurin echoed Quinn's sentiments, acknowledging that while the team had glimpses of potential in previous games, they collectively had to own the missteps that contributed to the defeat. The inability to convert early opportunities, most notably a failed attempt to score from the Vikings' 2-yard line on their first offensive possession, set the tone for a game that quickly slipped out of reach. Injuries have only compounded the Commanders' struggles in addition to Ertz's ACL tear. Quarterback Jaden Daniels aggravated a left elbow injury during the contest, leading to his early exit and forcing Marcus Mariota into the lineup. Quinn made the decision to sit Daniels for the remainder of the game, emphasizing the team-first mentality and the priority of player health over immediate results. Mariota, despite his own struggles on the field, praised the organization's approach, highlighting that protecting players and ensuring their long-term well-being must come before short-term outcomes. These injuries, combined with inconsistent execution and lapses in focus, have left the Commanders navigating one of the most tumultuous stretches of their season, forcing younger players and backups to step into significant roles sooner than anticipated. Zach Ertz's absence creates an immediate void in the offense, not just statistically, but also in leadership and experience as a linchpin for the team. His presence on the field has provided stability and a reliable target for quarterbacks, a role that will now need to be filled by less experienced players. The Commanders' offensive strategy will require adjustments, as the team loses a key component in both the passing game and blocking schemes. This challenge is made more complex by the injury history of other key players, including tight ends and linemen, placing added pressure on backups to perform under high-stakes conditions. The ripple effect of losing Ertz will be felt across play calling and game adjustments and overall team morale, testing the depth and resilience of the roster as Washington attempts to salvage the final 5 games of the season. Defensively, the Commanders also struggled to respond to the Vikings' attack, allowing multiple scoring drives that quickly created an insurmountable lead. Quinn pointed to specific moments in the first half where the team had chances to gain momentum, such as stopping the Vikings on 3rd down or converting early red zone opportunities, but failed to capitalize. The lack of execution in these critical moments highlighted deeper issues with preparation, focus, and adaptability. Linebacker Bobby Wagner, known for his relentless work ethic and leadership, remained steadfast after the game, emphasizing the need for players to continue pushing forward and improving despite the mounting challenges. His commitment reflects the core ethos of the team, attempting to instill resilience and accountability in a season increasingly defined by adversity. The Commanders' Week 14 loss to the Vikings has broader implications. Beyond the immediate impact on the scoreboard, the team's confidence, already fragile after consecutive losses, has been further shaken by both the magnitude of the defeat and the injuries to key players, with Ertz sidelined for the foreseeable future and Daniels' elbow lingering as a concern. The Commanders are forced to confront a stark reality. Remaining competitive in the NFC East will require significant adjustments, mental toughness, and contributions from unexpected sources. Terry McLaurin candidly noted that the team cannot rely on sympathy or outside validation to navigate the current situation, stressing that internal accountability and a collective drive to overcome obstacles must define the remainder of the season. As the Commanders look ahead, the path forward will involve both strategic and psychological recalibration. The coaching staff faces critical decisions regarding how to integrate backups into key offensive and defensive roles, while also maintaining cohesion and morale in the locker room. The offensive game plan must evolve to compensate for the loss of a reliable tight end, potentially reshaping passing schemes and red zone approaches to ensure productivity. Despite diminished personnel at the same time, the defense must find ways to remain competitive against high-powered offenses, leveraging experience where possible and trusting in younger players to rise to the occasion. Each game in the remaining stretch will serve as both a test and an opportunity to rebuild confidence, cohesion, and competitiveness in the face of adversity that has defined much of the season. To this point, the story of Zach Ertz's injury, the team's regression against the Vikings, and the broader challenges facing the Commanders encapsulates the brutal and unforgiving nature of professional football. Momentum can shift in an instant. Fortunes can reverse within a single quarter, and the loss of a key player can reverberate across every aspect of a team's performance. For Washington, the remaining 5 games of the season will not only be about wins and losses, but also about resilience, adaptation, and the capacity to rally in the face of compounded setbacks. Players like McLaurin, Wagner, and Mariota will be called upon to lead by example, not just in statistics or highlights, but in attitude, accountability, and determination. The Commanders are at a crossroads where every play, every adjustment, and every decision will carry heightened significance as they attempt to salvage what remains of a season marked by both potential and disappointment. The narrative emerging from Week 14 is clear. The Washington Commanders are confronting one of the toughest periods in recent franchise history. The combination of a lopsided loss, critical injuries, and the challenge of sustaining competitive play underscores the precarious balance of professional football, where the margin between progress and regression is razor thin. Zach Ertz's torn ACL symbolizes more than an individual setback. It represents a pivotal moment for the team, forcing a reevaluation of strategy, leadership, and perseverance. As the Commanders prepare for their next matchup, the questions remain whether they can regroup, adapt, and rise above the adversity that has so dramatically defined their season, or whether the challenges ahead will continue to expose the vulnerabilities that were so evident in the 31-0 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. The coming weeks will test the resolve, creativity, and unity of a team facing both immediate and long-term obstacles, with the hope that lessons learned in defeat can ultimately shape a path forward toward competitiveness, growth, and redemption. The season narrative now pivots around resilience, adaptation, and leadership in the wake of injuries that have struck at the core of the team. Zach Ertz's injury not only removes a vital offensive weapon, but also deprives Washington of a locker room presence that has anchored younger players and guided the team through challenging situations, with quarterbacks adjusting to new dynamics, tight ends stepping into expanded roles, and the coaching staff forced to innovate under pressure. The Commanders face an uphill battle that tests not just physical abilities, but mental toughness and cohesion. Every practice, every adjustment, and every game will carry amplified significance as Washington seeks to maintain competitive relevance in the final stretch of the season, striving to turn adversity into opportunity while confronting the harsh realities of life. Without one of their most experienced and accomplished players, if you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. The NFL universe is buzzing, and if you've been paying attention to the wild twists of the season, you already know why the Washington Commanders are at the center of every conversation. What started as a turbulent, uncertain campaign has suddenly transformed into one of the most exhilarating storylines of the year. The Commanders, who not too long ago seemed to be lost in the shuffle of underperforming teams, have staged a comeback that has fans, analysts, and even rival locker rooms talking. The whispering in sports bars, social media threads, and inside league circles is growing louder. The Commanders are not just back they are on the verge of something monumental. This is not your typical bounce-back story. This is a saga of punishment, redemption, and strategic brilliance that could define a franchise for years to come. After inheriting the victories from teams that were penalized, an unusual but undeniable twist in the football narrative, the Commanders find themselves just a heartbeat away from the playoffs. For a team that has been plagued by inconsistency, injuries, and moments of sheer frustration, this is nothing short of remarkable. The buzz around the league is that while some might debate the legitimacy of inherited wins, no one can deny the momentum that Washington now carries. There is an electricity in the air every time they step onto the field, an aura of inevitability that makes even the most skeptical observers pause and take notice. The whispers began quietly, almost conspiratorially. After the first of these handed-down victories, pundits questioned the fairness. Skeptics scoffed at the idea that the Commanders' playoff dreams could hinge on administrative rulings, and fans were cautiously optimistic. Yet, the narrative quickly shifted from doubt to awe, because inherited victories are one thing, but how a team responds to them is another entirely. Washington did not simply rest on luck or bureaucracy. They embraced the opportunity with a fervor that can only be described as contagious. Inside the locker room, sources suggest that there is a palpable sense of destiny. The coaching staff, long criticized for missed opportunities and questionable calls, appears to have found a rhythm, a way to instill confidence into a roster that had been teetering on the edge of mediocrity. The players themselves are reportedly embracing a new mentality, one that combines resilience, tactical intelligence, and a hunger that was absent in the early stages of the season. Even casual fans scrolling through highlights or reading game recaps can sense it. There is a renewed spark, a belief that this is more than just luck. This is a calculated, almost cinematic rise, where the stars are aligning at exactly the right moment as the rumor mill churns. Insiders hint that the impact of these victories goes beyond the standings. The morale boost has reportedly affected everything from practice intensity to locker room dynamics. Players who were once frustrated with inconsistent leadership are now rallying around a collective vision, one where the Commanders are no longer outsiders looking and they are contenders, legitimate and formidable. Analysts speculate that the psychological edge gained from these two wins is priceless. Teams that ride a wave of momentum often play with a confidence that cannot be quantified. A confidence that can unnerve opponents and shift the outcome of games in subtle but critical ways. If the Commanders' trajectory holds, they could enter the playoffs not just as participants, but as dark horses with a chip on their shoulder, hungry to prove that they belong. The league, always a mix of calculated strategy and human drama, thrives on these stories. There is something undeniably compelling about a team that turns adversity into opportunity. That takes what could have been a mere statistical anomaly and transforms it into a movement that carries everyone involved toward a common goal. What makes this situation even more tantalizing for fans and media alike is the unpredictability of the journey. The Commanders' rise has not been linear, and that unpredictability is exactly what fuels the rumors and speculation. In the locker room, conversations are said to be dominated by questions about strategy, about matchups, and about how far this momentum can carry them. Coaches are allegedly meeting behind closed doors, poring over game film with an intensity rarely seen outside of championship seasons. Sources close to the team suggest that every player is aware that the stakes have never been higher, and that there is a collective understanding that the inherited victories are both a blessing and a challenge. They cannot rely on past administrative decisions forever. They must prove, on the field, that they deserve the position they have been gifted. And according to whispers circulating among insiders, this challenge has been met with an almost tangible energy. Practices are reportedly more competitive, players are pushing one another harder, and the coaching staff is emphasizing adaptability and precision. Every snap, every play, every decision is now viewed through the lens of playoff readiness. For fans watching from the outside, it is like witnessing a team waking from a long slumber, suddenly aware of its own potential and hungry to seize it before the opportunity slips away. The intrigue extends far beyond Washington's own camp. Rival teams are said to be studying the Commanders with a mixture of caution and curiosity. How do you defend against a team riding both momentum and narrative? How do you prepare for a team whose confidence has been reinforced, not just by victories earned on the field, but by the strange and rare circumstances that have placed them on the brink of postseason glory? League insiders hint that coaches are adjusting game plans specifically to counter the Commanders' Newfound swagger. This is the kind of ripple effect that makes a sports season truly memorable. A single twist in fortune has the power to alter strategies, inspire rumors, and ignite debate from one coast to the other. Fans on social media are speculating endlessly about matchups, potential playoff seeding, and whether this version of Washington can maintain its rhythm under the immense pressure of elimination games. It is a storyline ripe for dramatic twists, and it is precisely this uncertainty that keeps viewers glued to screens. Analysts scribbling furiously in notebooks and rival teams awake at night, strategizing for a matchup that is no longer taken lightly. Even beyond the practical implications of these victories, there is the human drama, the kind of narrative that sports media thrives on. Players who were previously under scrutiny for inconsistent performances are suddenly celebrated for stepping up when it mattered most. Coaches, often targets of criticism in past seasons, are now quietly gaining respect for their ability to navigate a chaotic, ever-changing environment. Fans who once questioned the team's direction are now caught up in the fervor, trading stories, debating play calls, and daring to imagine a postseason run that seemed improbable mere months ago. The Commanders saga is becoming a template for how resilience, combined with a bit of fortune, can redefine expectations. Analysts are pointing out that the momentum created by inherited victories is amplified when a team has the leadership and talent to capitalize on it. A scenario Washington appears to be perfectly positioned to exploit, and while there will always be skeptics, the sheer volume of whispers, rumors, and speculation is a testament to the narrative's power. The Commanders are not just playing for wins, they are playing for validation, for redemption, and for a place among the NFL elite. As the league's landscape continues to shift, one thing is undeniable: Washington's situation has captured the imagination of the football world. Every corner of the NFL ecosystem, from front offices to fan forums, seems to be engaged in a dialogue about what might come next. There is a sense of suspense that is almost cinematic, a feeling that every game could pivot the story in a new direction. The Commanders, once seen as struggling and inconsistent, have become emblematic of the unpredictability and drama that make professional football so compelling. Rumors of playoff positioning, strategic gambles, and behind-the-scenes decisions swirl through media outlets, and every observer has a theory about how far this team can go. Will they ride this wave to a deep postseason run? Or will the pressure expose cracks in a team that benefited from circumstance as much as skill? The beauty of this unfolding drama is that no one can say for sure, and that uncertainty only heightens the excitement. Fans, pundits, and rival teams alike are watching closely, because one thing is certain: the Commanders' story is far from over, and the next chapter promises to be just as enthralling as the last. And so, the chatter continues, fueled by every rumor, hint, and insider leak. Washington has transformed from a team of uncertainty into a case study of how opportunity, when met with preparation and belief, can create a whirlwind of possibility. The inherited victories, once a point of contention, are now a springboard propelling the Commanders toward a destiny that seemed unimaginable. At the start of the season, the playoffs, within touching distance, are more than just a goal. They are a proving ground, a stage where this team can redefine its identity, silence doubters, and perhaps make history. Every practice, every huddle, every drive is infused with the awareness that the narrative is shifting, that Washington is no longer merely surviving, but thriving under circumstances that few could have predicted. The rumor mill is relentless, the speculation unending, and the excitement palpable. In a league defined by margins and moments, the Commanders have emerged as a story of audacity, resilience, and timing, reminding everyone that in football, as in life, the line between struggle and triumph can be astonishingly thin. And as the buzz continues to build, one thing is indisputable: the Washington Commanders are no longer just participants in the season, they are one of its most compelling protagonists. And the world is watching to see if they can turn inherited fortune into earned glory. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.